The Sega Dreamcast, a necessity for gracious living. The Sega Dreamcast was an impressive device and, at one point, the most powerful game console, from the likes of the ridiculously immersive Shenmue titles to the incredibly addictive Crazy Taxi. The Dreamcast library had a lot to offer. Sega's last hurrah in the hardware market would present many high-quality gaming experiences that would blow players away with what they had brought to the table. But as is often the case, the system is home to many notable titles that do not get mentioned quite as much as classics, such as Power Stone and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So let's cover the existence of some of this fantastic platform's most underappreciated gems. So without further ado, I am Later Decade and these are the brilliant Sega Dreamcast games that you didn't play. To start this video that focuses on lesser celebrated greatness, let's talk about Elemental Gimmick Gear. This engaging romp was co-developed by Hudson Soft and Birthday, and has been designed to feature beautiful pre-rendered art that can be appreciated from an overhead view while exploring the world. However, like with many games of the time, the action switches to 3D graphics during Elemental Gimmick Gear's enthralling battles. The story mirrors that of many typical RPG-style games, whereby the world is in danger and some brave hero has to come along to save it. Most people within the game own a type of egg-shaped armour, which they use as a type of transport. The game's primary purpose is to destroy some manky tentacle monster that landed on the planet and has spread over most of the world. The Japanese do love their bloody tentacles. Disgusting. Anyway, you'll travel through the world, meet many characters and trawl through many dungeons. The game mixes futuristic elements and robotics with an almost medieval world with magic, potions and all sorts of wonderful elixirs. There are also plenty of puzzles and mini-games which will keep most people playing thoroughly entertained. To top things off, the music in this one is very atmospheric, relaxing where it needs to be and dynamic during battles and puzzles. Overall, I would say this is a fine wine of a game, which people should try to check out. Next, I bring to you Border Down, a delightful example of a dynamic and exciting side-scrolling shoot-'em-up initially released in Japanese arcades in 2003. This game was developed by G-Rev and released on the Dreamcast only a few months after the arcades in September of that same year, after Sega's official discontinuation of the poor platform. This game features an interesting difficulty dynamic, starting with green being the easiest and then finishing with red, which is the most difficult. On the green level, the player's field lasts longer, however the enemy ships fire less, which means you need to prioritise endurance, whereas red becomes a battle to survive as long as you can until the end of the stage has been met. Each time you die, you are respawned in the same place. However, the levels become shorter but more difficult with each respawn. This pressures the player to stay alive for as long as possible whilst on the green section. As is typical with most side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups, you have various weapons which can be utilised and fired up as enemies are destroyed. These include, in essence, a sophisticated heat beam called a laser. Using these lasers correctly can rack up some huge scores. This is a fun game and a gem in the Dreamcast library. Another exclusive on this platform is Armada. This game was developed and published by Metro 3D Inc. and released in North America in October 1999. It was initially meant to have been a launch title. However, there were last-minute delays, which meant it wasn't released until the day after Thanksgiving in the United States in 1999. This game is a shooter with RPG elements, which includes gaining experience points from defeating enemies, exploration of the universe, completing missions, and making improvements to your ship. The game is also an MMO, which was relatively advanced at the time and showcased what the Dreamcast could do. The game is set in a future where an alien race has destroyed Earth, but there is no real explanation for its motive. Graphically, the game looks alright for the time. Your sprite remains in the centre of the screen at all times, and you can spin around 360 degrees to shoot in whatever direction you choose, firing wherever you like. The music is very sci-fi and feels very appropriate to the game. The sound effects are also suitable and give a sense of atmosphere. You can really get very immersed in this game. There is also some limited voice acting which adds to the feel of the experience. Another game I would like to mention is Outtrigger, developed by Sega. This first and a third-person shooter was initially released in the arcades in 1999, however it was ported over to the Dreamcast in 2001. You have the option to pick one of 4 characters, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, for example being a sniper or being able to jump higher than the other characters, or you can run faster, etc. Each character makes up one part of a counter-terrorism organisation named Interforce, which was set up to defend some military research facilities. Another perk of the game is that aside from the 4 main characters, there is also the ability to create your own character, resulting from picking from a combination of 3 weapons. In each stage, you have to kill all of the enemies which appear and can collect ammo and extra time which are dropped by defeated enemies. Good fun indeed. Here we have yet another space shooter, Mars Matrix. However, the difference with this one is that it's a vertical shooter instead. It was developed by Capcom, and like many other games on the list, it was originally released in the arcades in 2000 and ported over to the Dreamcast later in 2001, where some additions were made to the game, which made the gameplay somewhat more customizable. Various modes are available in the arcade version, including Arcade Mode, Arrange Mode, Elite A and Elite B, which makes fixed variations to the levels, Score Challenge Mode and Strategy Mode. A shop system can also purchase upgrades as you progress through the game, and a gallery to view. The gameplay is quite difficult and takes a lot of practice to make meaningful progress. A considerable amount is going on all at the same time. The background is so detailed, it makes it very hard to keep up with what is happening on screen at points, but overall, if this is a genre you enjoy playing, give this a go, provided you have the patience to practice anyway. Get good or go home. Cannon Spike is another arcade port to the Dreamcast and is among the last released on the system. This multi-directional shooter was designed by Capcom and is quite similar to Smash TV and Capcom's other release, Commando. Street Fighter's Cammy makes an appearance in this game, with her trademark move actually being the Cannon Spike. Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins is another main character available from the start of the game. Mega Man also makes an appearance too, as one of the unlockable characters. There is only one character who hasn't appeared in any other games, and that is Simone, who was specifically designed for this title only. All the characters are also on wheels, whether it be roller skates, a scooter or something else. You can mark, shoot and attack enemies using long and short range attacks. Movement is very fluid and the stages vary dramatically from one to another. The visuals and music are great too, and like the majority of Capcom games from this era, this is a delightful title. D2 is a survival horror game developed by Warp and released on the Dreamcast in Japan in 1999 and the USA in 2000. This Dreamcast release was praised for its storyline and the graphics it brings to the platform. As for the gameplay, it jumps between third and first person depending on what location you're in. For example, you can look around, interact with objects and pick up collectibles when you're inside buildings. When you're outside, you explore in the third person and encounter RPG style random encounters. During the battles, your character cannot move and can only fire weapons. You can gain experience points to level up and increase your health. Overall, this game is highly interesting if its genre appeals to you. But if you like horror, then this one will be right up your street. Or should I say, murder alley. Another weird survival horror exclusive is Illbleed, which was developed by Crazy Games and released in 2001, except this game is very bizarre. You pick your character and are sent into some odd theme park where you must carefully explore your surroundings. It would seem the character has been chosen to go on a TV show because if they manage to clear the game, they win $100 million. There are traps everywhere which cause you damage, resulting in blood loss or dying of fright. The game's point is slowly making your way through the levels, trying your best to avoid traps and rescue all of your friends. The graphics aren't too bad, but the game has a cheesy and comical feel. It's not very standard for a survival horror game in that not only can enemies kill you, but your entire environment has to be thoroughly explored to be able to avoid death. In each stage, you receive different boons to navigate the area, for example baseball bats and trap goggles. The game performed very poorly but has since gained a cult following. A very odd commodity indeed, but certainly one that should be tried out. Omikron the Nomad Soul, not to be confused with Omikron Persei 8, is an adventure-style game developed by Quantic Dreams. The game was also released for the PC Master Race on Windows in 1999. However, this remains the only console version of the game, still making this the console exclusive way to enjoy the game. There's a lot of exploration and interaction with the environment, as well as interesting puzzle elements, fighting segments and first-person shooting. One interesting tidbit is that the game's opening song was performed by David Bowie of all people. You know, the famous actor who kidnapped a baby in the movie Labyrinth. How delightful. Graphically, the game looks alright. The main sprite moves quite well, but we're not talking Shenmue level of graphics here. The levels all look very futuristic, with robots and hover cars aplenty. The music is atmospheric and keeps a level of suspense going, and the sound effects all feel appropriate for what they're trying to portray. This is more Dreamcast goodness. Mach X, if I'm pronouncing that right, is a first-person hack-and-slash game developed by the people's beloved Atlus. This is yet another game set in the future. You control a girl who wields a sentient sword. A group seeking to steal the sword broke into the facility where the sword was created, killing the main character's whole family, teacher and staff. Your character then takes up arms and delivers swift revenge on those invading the facility. Attacks are generally short range and you have to focus on dodging to miss attacks. Right from the off, enemies are very diverse as you make your way through the facility. You'll encounter rooms where you have to kill all enemies before you can move on. The graphics are appealing enough and the music is alright, although I can understand why they updated it in the future remakes, as it's not quite as good as it possibly could be. Overall, this game plays well and can deliver a very enjoyable gaming experience. Let me know if there are any underappreciated Dreamcast games that you would like me to spotlight here in the future, and if after seeing this video there are particular games you are curious to try from this content. Please leave a like and comment below, then check out my crazy uploads covering 80 Japan only Saturn exclusives. Peace.